finals, guys, because the stage is well packed with all the different things that's going on. I believe there's StarCraft, there's CSGO on there, so we have a very small time slot, so it will be a best of 3, potentially going on to the 3rd game. And we're now in picks and bans, so we should be transitioning to that very quickly. I would mention that both of us, because of the lack of spectator slots, because we've had to share them with people who are actually at the event, we'll be slightly behind the stream. So we'll be spectating from I don't even know what happened there, I think I wanted to say sleeve. And we'll be spectating from the stream, and we'll actually be behind you guys, because we'll be spectating from the stream, commenting on it, then that'll go through the stream once again, and then you'll hear what we're saying. So it's a bit weird to kind of wrap your head around Buddington, but that's how it's going to work.
Makes perfect sense to me. Although I did just want to answer that one question one guy answered, which was, will you answer this question? And in so commenting, I have answered it. Yeah, meta questions. But we have got the bans coming in. Shavana, Shen, Corky, Zed, Fizz. And I have not got the last one on my screen. Copenhagen Wolves giving a little bit of thought to it. But banning out that Fizz there, clearly a little bit scared.
Yeah, Fizz is one of those champions I like to kind of liken to Lee Sin, because if there's someone on the opposing team who you really are afraid of Fizz, he's not like a blanket ban in the sense you ban Fizz out and you're like, okay guys, we're safe. He's a pick where if their mid laner is incredibly good, like Charu, as we saw the other day, Spuddington, then you'll ban out Fizz, and then you'll feel much better not having that in the game. It's like Lee Sin, as we see so many people ban that against Shook. Has not been banned out this game. I would be very surprised if h2k either don't pick this away from him, or don't ban it out. So, most likely Shook's going to pick that up. Zara will be the last ban.
Yeah, banning out that Fizz is just something that's, he's such a different champion. Champignon. He runs just like completely differently. He works completely differently mechanically, playstyle, power curve. And so, just banning that out does cut off a lot of options for your opponents. With that Vi pickup, as you mentioned, very, very kind of standard at this point. She's really definitely come into her own though, Pulse. I mean, you've got to say, she's probably, I hesitate to say, the most popular jungler we've seen.
Yeah, I would definitely say top tier. And hipster glasses on, I was doing it before it was cool, and even with the skill order. So I'm waiting for these guys to pick up my build order, and I will just be the happiest person on earth. But yeah, Vi coming in, very good in the jungle. Now looking at Fresh and Elise. Okay, so Elise is another staple champion of Shook's, and Shook does like to take that in the jungle. But what we've seen from Copenhagen Wolves on multiple occasions is they'll pick up their Elise, and then because the jungle has already been taken in form of Vi, they can put that in the top lane, they can put that in the mid lane, and she's just very good as a dominant laner. So then Shook can take down the Lee Sin later on into the picking phase, which is something we've seen a lot. So I still would expect to see Copenhagen Wolves take out that Lee Sin pick.
So they could do that, yes, but that would leave them with a very obvious Elise pick there for the top lane. And the thing is, if you can maneuver it so that Kassadin ends up fighting against Elise in a lane, he can play that fairly passively, fairly defensively, and he can cope with that lane very effectively. At the moment, Copenhagen Wolves' main focus in their pick phase is probably going to be to try and make sure that Kassadin pick, which has been picked before an obvious mid laner, gets punished. If they don't punish that, and Ahri would be an interesting choice. People are picking that quite often against Kassadin. It's not a matchup I would want. No, not Lysandra. Really? Really? Sorry, I'm casting from the stream, but that shocks me, actually. Really quite shocks me.
This is how I see it, Spuddington, and I guess you could say this quite shocks me. Sorry, it just had to happen. But Lysandra, if you put it, yeah, I'll see myself out. But with Lysandra and Elise already being picked down, and as I was just mentioning before, Spuddington, that they really like to pick the Lee Sin onto Shook, we could see the Lee Sin as the last pickup, and then they could put Elise against the Kassadin lane. Because honestly, Elise wouldn't be too bad because she's got the range, she's got the all-in. Yes, the silence would be really annoying, but that could definitely work as she's a very dominant laner. Lysandra goes into the top lane with teleport. That might go on to Youngbuck. I haven't seen him on Lysandra before though. We'll see how that turns out, but it could be definitely something they're really shooting for. So I'm not going to comment on it before we see their final pick, because I feel that will show exactly what they're really shooting for in this picks and bans.
Yeah, it would make sense if they didn't put Lysandra against Kassadin, because I actually recently had a conversation with Nitrix while I was in a solo queue game, and I said, okay, I've got Lissandra versus Kassadin mid. I said, what can I do in this matchup? And he said, cry. Because Lissandra versus Kassadin is a really horrible matchup for Lissandra. There's not a lot you can do to harass him out early on, and he will just essentially almost free farm, and that gets very scary very quickly. Plus, post level 6, he is horrible for Lissandra to deal with, forces out, that claw, but if you try and claw away from him, he can silence you halfway through, and the claw will just reach the end, not get used. If they do put that Elise mid, that is definitely a better matchup than Lissandra, because at least she's got that good harass early on. But it's still not something I would particularly want. Yes, she is going to have decent range harass and decent all-in, but if she's mid lane against Kassadin, it just seems a bit challenging to make sure that, to make sure that he doesn't just hit level 6 without dying, because she'll push him back with her harass.
Alright, and so there's two things I want to mention. One, thank you for chat for correcting me. Youngbook actually plays a lot of Lissandra top. So thank you. I think it was Dumbo Lol who pointed that out, so thank you. And also, I would like to confirm that my theory was correct. They picked out the Lee Sin last. They knew that Vi was going to be in the jungle. She can't really lane anywhere else, and therefore they can pick the Lee Sin as the final pickup, and then they can have Elise going into one of those lanes. Looked at the moment like Youngbook is going to go into the top lane with Elise, but they could also swap up to make sure that the right people are on the right champions. I know Caltod also plays a lot of Lissandra, and then if they try and swap up Youngbook into a lane against Overpower, because h2k might swap up themselves. Hello, there we see. A teleport now coming in from Kassadin. So it's not indicative of the fact he would go top lane, but it gives him more roaming abilities. So again, that could also come into play. But anyway, guys, we're going on to a quick commercial break while the delay times down. And until then, we'll be in game between Copenhagen Wolves and h2k for the grand finals. We'll see you soon.
Tell me lies so easily. They fall out your mouth as you speak. Keep falling down. I don't wanna play your silly games, but I know that I can't change who you are. Now I know you made me lose control. You took my mind. You took my mind. Now I know you made me lose control. You took my mind. You took my mind.
Hello guys, welcome back to Copenhagen Wolves versus h2k. This is now the game. We are in. It has not had any spectator issues, and that is a good thing. I am Spuddington, joined by Pulse, and we were thinking probably an invade coming in from Copenhagen Wolves.
Yeah, we theory crafted about this a lot during the break, and we're talking about the lane swap-ups. I think 2 versus 1s are very likely. At least that's what Copenhagen Wolves want to go for. You were mentioning, Spuddington, that the Copenhagen Wolves want to go for the early invade, just to get those aggressive wards down, meaning they can get vision of these laners, then have the bottom lane of Reckless and Unlimited stick around the mid lane, and then swap up accordingly, because they want the duo lane to be against Katadin to shut him down, because Katadin normally has a very good matchup against Lissandra and Elise, which is really difficult because you need to shut down Katadin early. Jankos finds them in the jungle, again aggressive wards come down. This is going how we expected it to at least in the first couple seconds, Puddington.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting both of Copenhagen Wolves solo laners here have solid 1v2s. Elise perhaps not perfect, Lissandra very solid though, has excellent wave clear, and Elise at least has inbuilt sustain and ranged farming, so, and indeed scales both of them scale fairly well, even if they just keep themselves in XP range. So it would certainly make a lot of sense, and you are actually seeing now Reckless kind of hanging around that mid lane, which is what we were sort of expecting, but it almost looks like Unlimited is planning on going the bot lane, or possibly just getting down that ward. We'll see what they choose to go for, but actually, they are, I'm pretty confident they're going to be going for the mid lane with the dual lane, but it looks like they're taking away the blue buff at level 1.
Okay, this is interesting. Unlimited will be there just to tank some of the damage and also use Flay just to help Calmarine out. And he knows he might be in the 1 vs 2. In fact, they know he's going to be in the 1 vs 2. So the blue buff will help him out immensely to try and keep himself sustained. That actually also makes him a higher ticket target when it comes to trying to gank that and getting the blue buff off him. Because if Vi can get that, or even the bot lane can get that off Calmarine, that will really hurt him in the long run. At least in the early game until he can get some levels under his belt, and it will force Shook bot lane. So that could be a potential play. We see Shook with the invade along with Unlimited, and Jankos actually moves himself away from that top jungle. This is interesting. Very interesting play by Vi. Ah, right. He knows exactly what they're doing. He's going for the invade himself. He's going to realize that Lissandra doesn't have it yet, because Lissandra went back. This is so smart from Copenhagen Wolves.
Yeah, they have completely outmaneuvered and outthought. They have baited and outsmarted their opponents here. They just have got everything worked out in their heads, exactly how this was going to go. And I was a little bit surprised they went for that blue donation, but now it makes perfect sense. They had their dual lane in the area to support Shook, so he was guaranteed to take away the enemy blue. And Lissandra hadn't even showed herself, so there was no reason for Jankos there to think he wouldn't just be able to go for the counter steal. Very nicely played, although it does seem like the dual lane has now swapped up to the mid.
Oh man, when I saw Jankos walk into that jungle and see the blue buff gone, I knew exactly how he was feeling as a jungler. When you turn the corner and it's just like, oh god. And then literally on the team, you can imagine what was happening. Like, it was just like, okay, we need to swap bot lane immediately. We need to get this matchup down. Vi's not going to have that early level 3. We're going to lose early pressure. Now she's got level 3. She does have the red buff. And now she's looking for ganks. Because Jankos, he realizes the way to get back into this game is for ganks. He needs that to happen. Otherwise, he's going to fall further and further behind.
And remember right now, if you use Katadin Silence effectively, you can cancel out the claw.
Yep, we have the engagement now on to Calmarine. He's not in good shape. Flash comes down. Overpower looking for the follow-up. Great ice shot, but the flash comes down as well. Circle of Frost comes in. Will it be enough to secure his escape though? Looks like it will be. Had that kill gone down, that would have been disastrous. But he actually dodged a massive bullet.
And you saw actually there, the silence was used to cancel out the claw, but they just didn't have the damage, and the Vault Breaker cooldown was just a little bit too long. So nicely played by Calmarine there, getting himself out. I'm going to have to call him Calmarine now. And in the mid lane, there is another gang.
Yeah, another engagement coming out. Death Sentence into Flay. Flash comes out. Auto attack from Unlimited. And they should be backing off. Shook lands the kill. He follows up. He goes for the dive. This is so risky. He drops in the process. First blood picked up by Kellever. And Reckless picks up one in return. That was just like man mode. That's what I like to call Lee Syndrome.
That was extremely Lee Syndrome right there. I'm not sure that was actually worth it, because it was only by a very nice opportunistic flash from Reckless that they were able to pick up that kill, and that wastes his cooldowns. And it gave Selva blue buff. but it could definitely be worse, and using that blue buff to greater effect with his Arcane Shift, which he now doesn't have to worry about using, but possibly a little bit of a queryable dive.
It was man mode. It was like, it's one of those moments in League of Legends where you land the Q, you know you can get the kill, and it's just like, I'm probably gonna die in the process, but it will be baller as heck. So, yeah, Shook went for it, and man points have been appointed. So, Jankos looking for the gank in mid lane, actually just gonna back off with the Vault Breaker. Now Shook in his own jungle, he's level 4. How is he doing? Almost level 5 compared to Jankos, who is level 3. Nearing that level 4, so it's not too bad. You can kind of see the state of affairs.
Yeah, Reckless actually they're getting his recall cancelled, and Calmarine now is level 5, heading around here towards this mid lane. Actually looks like they're just going to swap this back up again, to my mind. They in fact tried to recall Reckless, but he got cancelled. Calmarine going to be here, he'll take over this wave, he'll possibly Reckless will stick around because farm, but they'll just swap that back down to the bot lane and end up probably with the 2v2 again, because Kassadin has ample time to recall and react to that swap.
Yeah, in the top lane, we see Shook sniffing around, seeing if he can pick up a kill onto Zaxxas. He would have been CB, lands a cocoon. What a matrix cocoon coming out onto Zaxxas. The follow-up with the ward jump. Auto attack comes out, lands another superb Q. Man, the skill shots through the minions today are absolutely superb. But Equalizer comes down just to clear out the minion wave, and he'll probably be heading on back.
Yeah, although he actually slightly misplaced that Equalizer there, left the caster creeps intact. That's going to give the Copenhagen Wolves quite a decent chunk of damage on that tower if they want it. There we go, they are indeed going for it, shockingly enough. Overpower though, I said he has ample time to recall from bot lane, and that's probably what Copenhagen Wolves are expecting of him, but he's actually hanging around. Looks like he's recalled, they've got no vision, this could be bad.
Yeah, he hit the level 6, so he has the ability to jump on them at a moment's notice. The North Sphere will come down, preventing the counter-engage, and Limited takes some hits. They're looking for the tower dive. He lands a death sentence, so remember, he still has that Rift Walk, and they actually go huge onto a Limited, flash into the auto-attack. He gets the kill. Kill in return for Reckless, though. Vander unable to follow up onto that one, and Celiver drops low. So, 1-for-1 trade. Very minimal advantage to h2k.
Yeah, it's worth noting though, Reckless playing Vayne is now 2-0 and has the highest farm in the game. That's a warning sign. If he gets any more fed, things are going to start to get really, really ugly in these team fights when they start to break out. Shook is in this top lane area, but has been spotted out. Doubt he's going to be able to get anything done there. And it kind of feels at the moment, though, that everything has settled down a little bit. Now is the time, though, to see whether Overpower is able to make anything happen with that Kassadin, which has not been shut down hard.
Yeah, he's heading into the mid lane, and Jankos just clearing out the waves with excessive force. What's he going to be maxing this time? In fact, he's going for the initiate. The Vault Breaker coming in. He doesn't have the ultimate, he doesn't have the mana. Overpower, in fact, he doesn't choose to use the Glacial Claw because he was actually silenced at the time. Looking for the follow, Riftwalk comes in, and Shook looks to pick up the pieces, but honestly, they're a little too high for that to happen. And 1-for-0 trade, well played.
Yeah, that's the nasty thing. It's one of the nasty things, because this is why Lissandra is such a horrible matchup against Kassadin. Kassadin can silence to cancel your normally almost infallible escape maneuver, plus he can jump after you even if you do manage to get it off, and Lissandra doesn't exert early enough pressure because her Q acts more as kind of a defensive damage mechanism, which Kassadin is perfectly happy to just trade with his Q anyway. So it's really, really a horrible matchup, and it's not one you want to be in for any length of time. In this case, Copenhagen Wolves played it very nicely, but Overpower is now in a situation where he's scary. I doubt he'll build a Medjay this time, though.
Yeah, Unlimited aggressing in the bot lane with Reckless, and actually with the crescendo. And now Reckless also following after. He has the final hour, the extra movement speed. Exhaust comes in for the last auto attack. Teleport now coming in for 2 players. Meanwhile, at the top we have some action, but jumping back into the bot lane, Frozen Tube comes across. Overpower's still there, offering minimal damage at this stage. Force Pulse comes across, picks up one, picks up another. Calvary backs off. Shook now in the bot lane, and in the top lane, they pick up the kill onto Youngbuck.
So a lot of action across the map. Double teleports used. Shook is not going to be able to pick up Overpower, but probably actually h2k taking it, largely because of that kill in the top lane. Shook having a lot less influence in that kind of exchange than Jankos, who will be able to take away that top tower. They will get the dragon, but I'm pretty sure both teams would rate a full health top tower over a dragon. Not by a lot, but by a bit. And yeah, it will also give Copenhagen Wolves a chance to secure their blue buff. So a little bit in the favor of h2k overall.
Yeah, very slight advances, but towers in the long run will really help them out. Had that been a bot turret, I would have been like, okay, that's really good for them at least in the early game, so they can secure all future dragons and kind of invade on blue buff and red buff. But top tower is also good if they want to go for the invade up there. Kind of gives them a little space to put down more aggressive wards into that top jungle, give them a little bit more vision and knowledge over Shock and what he's doing, because I think that's one of the scariest things. I think what we were saying during Champion Select and indeed during the breaks, Bunnington, was one of the very scary things is they let Shock's Lee Sin go through, and that is so bad. We've actually seen Copenhagen Wolves face down h2k several times in the US Challenger Series and do very well. I think the last time they faced them down was a 2-0. Now they have a new lineup. We'll see if they can go one better and take a game off Copenhagen Wolves, if not beat them. But even though h2k are a very solid team, their track record against CW is not that great.
That's true. 2 different members this time though. Overpower in the mid lane.
Yeah, looks for the gank, and the Sultan battery comes down, returns with the ice shot, but actually Overpower just Super Mario's him and picks up the kill.
Yeah, super strong, and actually worth noting, he has gone for the Medjai Soul Stealer again. 2 stacks this game, which I think is more than he managed the last time he built that Medjai's on Cassidy that I saw. But it is one of those items where if you start getting the stacks, it suddenly becomes an awful lot easier to build it. Build up a decent number of stacks there. So we'll see if he works it, but to me, it just leaves you too squishy on that Cassidy, who's already so item dependent, and delays your damage even further.
Yeah, for sure. And in the bot lane, Reckless taking some hits. But for everyone asking, by the way, Calmarine is Cowtard. And I was making the joke earlier, I was wondering that's where the Navy SEALs came from. It's because it's got an elite team of animals surrounding him, Spuddington. That'd be absolutely awesome. But it'd be great if he had an entire lineup of just people who had like Navy SEAL and Calmarine. That'd be fantastic.
That would be pretty good, and like, what would that lead to though? Then you'd have to start kind of digging much deeper, and like Air Force Swan and other.
I would love that. That would be so good. Metas was actually making a joke yesterday, wondering if Calmarine is a hippopotamus. Ooh, there we go.
Ah, well, submarine. I guess.
I don't know. Can you milk hippopotamuses? I don't know.
Hippopotamus.
I've never tried. Hippopotami. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize we had the grammar police over here.
Yeah, well, the Romans did meet the hippopotami, so there you go. Okay. But regardless, with respect to what's actually going on in the game, not a huge amount at the moment. Both teams kind of settling down, no major objectives to force. And I imagine now Copenhagen Wolves' focus is going to be drawn to this mid lane. They're going to want to make Overpower suffer for building that Medjai's. They know that if he starts building up even a few more stacks, he's going to get really scary, really fast. Conversely though, h2k, with that teleport that Overpower's going to have shortly, and with that ultimate on Vi up, are probably going to want to make sure that Reckless is the next person to die on Copenhagen Wolves.
And at least for this this moment right now, Young Buck dodges out of the way of the Sultan Basher using Repel. Did that put it on cooldown? Actually it did. Now Shook comes in. Huge Dragon's Rage actually gets on out of here. There's a lot of men chasing us, and Shook doesn't even care.
There are a lot of men chasing us.
Oh man, that video.
That video. It's too good.
See if we can show it in the break. But yeah, Shook, huge plays come out. Dragon's Rage, great as the counter initiate, as well as just being really good as an initiating skill with the classic insect maneuver. And I would like to sound the Medjai's alarm.
I did mention this. Were you not listening to a word I said?
No, I didn't. I completely zoned out.
I've said Medjai's like 3 or 4 times. Flash Crescendo in the bot lane.
Yeah, Crescendo comes across into the box for the counter initiate. Will it be enough though? Reckless is still back. He got Overpower flashed into the Rift Walk, but now with Shook and Youngbuck also looking for the kill. Repel comes down, shut down with Venomous Bite. Celeber on the back foot along with Vanda. Lands the Q, actually follows him all the way through his Arcane Shift into the flash. Doesn't even matter though. Another man move from Shook. But once again, I think that was a 1-for-1 trade.
Yeah, very kind of clutch play. Definitely worth keeping an eye on the mid lane though now. Jankos is there, Calmarine is there. Rumble actually just going to kind of not really do anything. I'm surprised we don't have like Rumble in the jungle though, because that would be a pretty valid counter to Shook's. Wait, what's the name? Pool party. It's not really a pool party though. It's more like a jungle party. Decent.
I guess so. I mean, I could see him at a pool party. I don't think that's too much of an issue.
has to be like a pool party that's in the Bahamas, though, rather than like just like
That's
a
true.
pool. It's got to have like the sea there.
I guess so. I mean, maybe that's what they were shooting for, because that's definitely not the jungle. But regardless, now into the bot lane. I'm just taking a look at a couple of these builds, and some people were querying why everyone's going for Phage nowadays. In short, it's amazing. In terms of gold efficiency, it's so good what you get from it. The extra movement speed is unbelievably good for AD carries at least, and also that's why we're seeing the emergence of different top laners like Jax, because you can just stick to people. It's like Irelia as well. It kind of makes those champions who are like time bombs just never get to that stage where you can kite them around, because one of Jax's biggest issues as a late game character is you can kite him around. Yes, he has leap strike. Yes, he has the counter strike, but apart from that, people could just walk away from him. Now with the rage passive of Phage, there's nothing they can do.
Yeah, it's a really amazing amount of movement speed. 60 flat movement speed if you just last hit a minion. That is so powerful. By the way, Reckless is having to play very cautiously right now because Overpower keeps just vanishing for a brief period from the lane. And if that happens, he cannot afford to be anywhere that Kassadin could jump on him. Has spotted him out now, and it does look like they're grouping up for this dragon. Shook is there, and it's also worth noting countering hit level 11 before Overpower.
Yeah, and goes down very quickly. Actually, very good timing push from h2k. Actually gives them a little bit on top of Copenhagen Wolves. And it's worth mentioning that yesterday h2k took down Millennium, and everyone knows how strong Millennium are as a French powerhouse. So the fact that h2k's new lineup, and considering they haven't really played with them that much, I know Vandernoob has been a long time sub, yes, but Jankos is a very new person to their lineup. In fact, he's permanent as well. In the mid lane, Kaltart, nope, doesn't in fact go for the all-in, as Overpower just went for the harassment, but still, chucking him down by about a sixth of his HP. Quite scary to contend with. It's kind of like a preview of how strong he'll be later on into the game.
Yeah, but who is stronger, like, in that team fight scenario? I mean, Overpower is going to exert so much map pressure. That is the real strength of Kassadin, and he works quite well as cleanup. But sometimes there are situations where Kassadin isn't able to really get in to deal his damage, because he has to rift walk in. That means he has to survive for a few seconds at least to get the rift walk out. If he can't do that, if there's too much CC, too much instant lockdown, too much burst, he can actually get trapped in situations where the only thing he can really do is split push. Although, in fairness, with that teleport, with that blue buff, with that strength in general as a duelist, especially if he can get a few more Magi stacks, he'll be really scary.
He will, just for like assassinating people, because in the jungle, we've mentioned before in several casts, Buddington, that when you get into that scenario where you have the support roaming about the map and they're putting down wards and trying to maintain that vision, Kassadin is also roaming around the map, and it's kind of this cat and mouse game. If he catches the support, they're so screwed, and they pick up the kill, and then it's a 4 versus 5, and then you can force objectives. That's a really bad state of affairs, especially when you get into that mid-late game. So we were talking in Champions Select saying that maybe Copenhagen Wolves have slightly outpicked them. I'm not entirely sure, because the kind of double assassination of both Kassadin and having Vi for the lead-in on Jankos, then they're going to be in really good shape. Vi also looking for the gank on bot lane. Charges up the Vault Breaker, pops over the wall, looks for the Assault and Battery, lands onto a limiter, doesn't quite knock aside Reckless, but nukes him down in the blink for the Overpower looking for the teleport gank. They actually follow up as well, cuts off the escape route, and Reckless will finally fall to Overpower.
4 Magi stacks now on Overpower. Still not exactly, really strong, but he hasn't been dying and popping that equalizer in the mid lane just to clear out the creep wave. But this is starting to look surprisingly bad for Copenhagen Wolves. They're falling a little bit behind in gold. Reckless has just died, which is going to slow down the farm train, and indeed Ezreal is out farming him, and they're going to lose another tower now. This is not what we're used to seeing out of Copenhagen Wolves. We have seen them a couple of times fall behind early and then bring it back late, but this time there isn't really much light at the end of the tunnel, apart from the fact that Vayne will outscale Ezreal.
Yeah, I agree. It's Copenhagen Wolves, one of their major strengths as a team is that they're so good at team fights, and they can just outplay the best of teams. And we've seen it time and time again, Spuddington, even against MYM, Meet Your Makers, the LCS team who were in the relegation series. They were just out team fighting them all day, and yes, it was close, but they still had that slight advantage. And that was really, really scary. Seeing Copenhagen Wolves face down someone like that, it was like, what? So, against any other team, they're in such good shape. We have the teleport now coming in into the bot lane, finding themselves Jankos. Glacial Path comes across, Cello flashes out, Shook looks for the follow-up, doesn't quite connect to the Sonic Wave, and they can't all in. So it just feels right now, Copenhagen Wolves are really being outmaneuvered by h2k.
Yeah, and yes, they have really, really good team fighting like ability as players rather than as characters. But in this case, they could never get the team fight they want. This is a team that can really control the flow of the game from h2k. They can start fights when they want. They can avoid fights all day with Ezreal, Kassadin, and Vi. I mean, just it's impossible to chase them down. And it's not like Rumble is easy either. With the Scrap Shield over long distances, he just constantly spams it, gets miles and miles of distance. So it'll be very much down to whether Calmarine and Shook can catch people out. But again, difficult to do when you've got that Kassadin just because Riftwalk is dumb.
Yeah, Vi will be chasing you face first into the proving grounds, and there's nothing you can really do about it. So, right, it's difficult from Copenhagen Wolves' perspective. They can kind of just wait, sit at a turret and go for the counter initiate, because at some point h2k will have to teamfight them. It's almost an inevitability. I say that though, but if they split up and then they go for like split pushing maneuvers, especially with Kassadin, who has the teleport and is highly maneuverable, then they have like someone like Rumble, or even they send Celeber down there, there's very little they can do about it. In fact, talking of Celeber, might be caught here, Shook moves in, now Calmarine also the point of contention, with Youngbot coming in from the side, gets the stun onto Jankos. Ice Shot comes across as well. Oh, and now the Assault and Battery again by Repel. He goes for this anyway. Now Calmarine taking so much damage. And with Brendan coming across, Frozen Tomb used on himself as the kind of Zhonya's effect. Now Zhonya's comes into it. Lands the Q onto Jankos, picks up the kill. Death Sentence lands onto Zaxxas. And Youngbot falls in return. Reckless and Unlimited against the world. They knock back Zaxxas. One drop, looking for the second kill onto Reckless. Barrier comes down, auto attack, does not pick up the kill. And h2k out-teamed by Copenhagen Wolves.
That was really, really nice, and it was actually incredibly good damage juggling by Calmarine and Unlimited save there, but it just wasn't enough, and Reckless at the end there, not a lot he could do. Worth noting, his last auto attack, which probably would have picked up the kill on Zaxxas, it did that thing where it launches the projectile, but the projectile did no damage. It was cancelled at exactly the last possible moment to keep them alive, but h2k taking even more advantages now, getting even more farm on Celeber, getting towers pushed down quite significantly. That mid lane's going to take a lot of damage. They're really getting control of the game. They just need to make sure they keep this momentum going.
Wow, maybe the swap-ups to h2k's roster has really put them into contention to be one of the strongest teams right now, because if they can face down the Copenhagen Wolves, that will show that they're a massive force to be reckoned with. In the US Challenger Series, we've seen them time and time again. Oh my god, the damage onto Calmarine. Overpower's incredibly scary. He's got 7 stacks in that Medjai's at the moment. So again, looking for the team fight. Drake is still up, and there's no real reason why they won't go for it again. And Copenhagen Wolves, I don't think they're ever in this position where they have to not go for a team fight. So this is really bad. They actually land the Q. The Death Sentence onto Jankos. Now Youngbot taking so many hits. The Spiderlings will do that. But now Jankos actually flashed into the Vault Breaker. Now Youngbot gets dropped. Calmarine, the next character to be taken down into the Zhonyas, and he doesn't have anywhere to go. No recourse. Shook gets caught. Played back. Jumps in with the Safeguard onto Reckless. But that's 2 more picks. And Copenhagen Wolves, they're just not used to this scenario.
Yeah, they are being forced to retreat from these fights, and that is just giving h2k's comp free reign to chase them down, which they are incredibly good at. And now that they are this far ahead, there's not a lot that Copenhagen Wolves can even do in the team fights. They need now to be catching people out against a team where it's so hard to catch them out. This is... Okay, look, I'm gonna jinx it now by saying h2k at the moment, they look like they've got this game almost in the bag.
Yeah, if this was any other matchup, I would say they're doing really well. They have Snowball champions, they have Kasten, they have Vi, they also have Rumble, who progressively does get slightly weaker towards late game. It's not a complete fall off like LeBlanc, but he does kind of fall off a little bit, but when he's ahead, he never really falls off. Celeber as well on Ezreal, again, it's another one of those champions who's really good in the mid game, and it doesn't look like they're going to fall off in terms of the curve. So h2k, there's no real reason why they should lose in team fight, especially because they're already out team fighting Wolves. So I'm not, honestly, right now, I've never been in a position as a caster, Spunnington, where I've said, right now, Copenhagen Wolves, they're behind, and I don't know what they should do.
Yeah, that is really I mean, for the record, guys, if you are, just joining us, Copenhagen Wolves are probably considered the strongest EU West Challenger team at the moment. The EU West Challenger Series, they took the last 6 in a row, including against MYM, who are an or sort of still sort of LCS team. They are really, really good, and to see h2k taking them for a ride like this is just not something we are at all used to or were at all expecting. I mean, it's safe to say it now. Unlimited action is found in the jungle.
Yeah, huge combo comes out, and the equalizer perfectly placed. Now Jankos over the wall into a Sort and Battery. He just got completely eliminated. That was like a third of its HP just disappearing. And another 2 picks onto Wolves, and this will surely be the Baron. I would say that Elisa's flub, but they have no spite. Yes, Vayne is still there, but I just wouldn't go for this.
They cannot fight that. They know that. They're not trying even. They are kind of, in fact, you can see it now, they're indecisive. They're kind of just wandering around thinking, what on earth do we do in this situation? Okay, plan B, Reckless, go farm. But, this is really, really bad now. 10k gold difference almost. Baron buff in the favor. 11 stacks on that Medjay's now, so that's starting to get to a point where it's more gold efficient than other things like Rabadons. This is starting to look even worse than it was before. Copenhagen Wolves have got to pull out something really, really impressive if they want to win. Stalling may not be an option though, because Kassadin, too strong as time goes on, and the siege is going to be pretty solid too. h2k with that Trinity Force Ezreal there, he's going to be able to poke really, really hard.
You know, Spuddington, I feel that for the next game, if it does go on to the next game with h2k winning this, that Copenhagen Wolves might just need to go back to basics. And yes, Shook is on one of his staple champions. Yes, Reckless is on one of his best. In fact, it's Vayne. So they might just need to go back to what they used to do, which was protect the AD carry composition and just put hedge all their bets on Reckless. Because Reckless, as we all know, is a phenomenal player. He's doing very well in this game, but maybe he just needs more love. Because in this game, Overpower will completely decimate him and also change into the Vi ultimate. There's almost no way Vayne can get out of this one. So we'll see how it goes. But now that we're getting into teamfight situations where they're forced to go for those 5 versus 5s, Reckless isn't going to have anywhere to run.
Yeah, indeed. But they are looking for picks here. Jankos gets pulled in.
Yeah, Box comes out, but they just counter-initiate. One of the beautiful things about h2k's composition is they have unbelievably good disengage and kiting ability. So if Copenhagen Wolves want to go for a team fight that is potentially favorable for them, they're just like, alright, well, we'll just leave then, because our characters are so well suited to being that maneuverable. Special Path comes across, and Limited looks for the pick. He lands it onto Jankos. Not sure if this is the first he wants. Equalizer comes across into the crescendo. It's a complete massacre. We do actually have the Frozen Tomb come across, and now Castle comes in from the side. They split the roaches, and now Reckless. I was like, can he 1 versus 5? But, well, Super Mario comes in for Kasten, and he just nukes him down. GG well played is being called. And that is the first game of this best of 3 series going to h2k against Copenhagen Wolves in the DreamHack Bucharest 2013 tournament. Unbelievable.
Not something I was expecting at all. The changes in the lineup for h2k seem to have worked absolute wonders for them. 17 stacks on Kassadin's Medjay's at the end, so I guess I'll just have to say he knew what he was doing when he bought it. Really, really solid play. Copenhagen Wolves have got a lot of things to think about in that game, because it wasn't even like the advantage was taken super early on there by h2k. Copenhagen Wolves played their level 1 really perfectly. So something that h2k did there was just something that Copenhagen Wolves were not prepared for at all. So really nice play. This is a best of 3, guys, though, so we will be going into the second game shortly, which is essentially tournament point for h2k, and we'll see if Copenhagen Wolves can pull this back in the next couple of games. Regardless, though, getting the lobby set up, quick break while we wait. Well, let's look forward to this.
Yeah.